Welcome to episode 13.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Who Did That Voice, where we take an in-depth look at voiceovers.
Are you ready to plan your next vacation getaway? Then I recommend using 3D Travel Company. They are more powerful than pixie dust, more fantastic than flu powder, and they never charge a fee. Whether you're booking a Disney or Universal vacation, a relaxing cruise, or a luxury trip overseas, you'll experience concierge-level service unmatched by any agency. From the moment you submit a complimentary quote request or inquiry on their website at www.3dtravelcompany.com, you'll find out what it means to be pampered by the best in the business. That's 3, the letter D, travelcompany.com. And tell them Trenton sent you.
Welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at voiceover. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Who Did That Voice. Today on the show, we have Rodney Saulsberry joining us today. Rodney, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Trenton. I'm very glad to be here.
Well, sir, the very first thing that we always like to start off with is just to get a background of who our individual is, who our interviewee is on the show. Would you just tell us a brief story about who you are and how you got into the voiceover industry?
Well, my name is Rodney Saulsberry, as you so eloquently stated. And I got into voiceover. I started out as an actor. I used to do high school plays. I was Tony in West Side Story and Sky Masterson in Guys and Dolls, and Billy Bigelow in Carousel. I was fortunate enough to have all the leads in the high school musicals. And I went on to also do musicals in college. I was Pearly Victorious in the musical Pearly. And then I got into a show called Your Arm's Too Short to Box with God. And we toured all around the country. And the last stop was Los Angeles. This was 1979, I think. And I stayed once we stopped here, and I started doing television. I was a regular on a soap opera called Capital. I did great shows like Taxi and Hill Street Blues and MASH. And along the way, people would always say, you have a great voice, you should get into voiceovers. And I didn't know what voiceovers were, but I found out. And I made a demo, and then I took it around to all the agents in town, and all the agents said they wanted me, and I was very happy. And I chose an agency called ICM, International Creative Management, and it changed my life. And that's how I got into voiceover. And things got so good, I was doing all these different voiceovers, and I was so excited that I wrote my first book called You Can Bank on Your Voice to tell everybody about this exciting voiceover business.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, in regards to your book, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the first book, You Can Bank on Your Voice, was a book that talked about my journey, and it talked about how to get into the voiceover business. And it's still a favorite book amongst many. It still sells to this day. It was written in 2004, and yet it's still very popular. I've never done a second edition or anything like that because I've always felt like the book stands on its own, and it's sort of nostalgic in a way because prices have changed. For instance, back when I did that book, a demo getting made would cost you a certain amount, and now things have changed. They're a lot higher. Also, demos were a lot longer. They were almost 2.5 minutes, and now they're down to a minute. So some things have changed like that, but the basic general information is still the same in terms of what it takes to be a good voiceover artist and to be a great voiceover artist, along with anecdotes throughout my life and my career and how I got to be where I got to be today and where I am today.
Well, Rodney, thank you for sharing that very interesting story with us. I believe you also have a second book that's come out. Is that correct?
Yes, my second book was called Step Up to the Mic. And the reason that I wrote Step Up to the Mic, a positive approach to succeeding in voiceovers, was because the first book was not only informational in terms of letting you know how to get into the business and how I got into the business, sort of autobiographical, I can't say it, but like an autobiographical, an autobiography. It's early.
Yes, sir.
That book was inspirational to a lot of people. It caused me to want to write a book that was totally inspirational. And I wanted to talk about how a positive attitude would help you succeed in the business and being positive in the workplace. And I got contributions from some great people like the late Don LaFontaine and Nancy Cartwright, Frank Welker, Rob Paulson, Harlan Hogan, and all of these people in a section of the book called Opinions from the Pros. They gave the reason that a positive attitude helped them be successful. So those contributions are very nice in this book. And there are a whole lot of affirmations and things to do to just be positive as you go along your voiceover journey.
Well, that is most fascinating. And you mentioned some big names there who've supported that. So that's really awesome that they were a part of that book and gave some of their contributions from their experiences as well.
Yes.
Well, speaking of positive, perspectives and attitudes, you played Robbie Robertson on Spider-Man in the 1994 series, and he was always very positive towards Peter Parker and Spider-Man when J. Jonah Jameson was beating him down. So, how did that role come about for you?
Well, Joe Robbie came about. It was an audition, like most of my roles, and I looked at the sides, and I had information from the director and casting director about what they were looking for. And I sort of put together my interpretation of what Joe Robbie would sound like. And that's what I presented in the audition. And I was fortunate enough to get it. It was a great time. We did a ton of episodes. And I worked with the greats, like you said, Ed Asner, and many stars that would come on to the show as guests. It was a wonderful time. And still, this is what I love about voiceover. Things stand the test of time. I mean, here's something that we did some years ago that is still a favorite amongst many. And the cast of that show that included so many great people is now going to be part of a new cartoon called Rocket Man, I think it is. And you may know more about that than I do, but there's something that we have coming up where we're all going to be together again, working on another great cartoon, hopefully.
Well, that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us. Do you know about when that show might be out or available for us to view?
Well, it's going to be coming probably in the next year for sure. They're still working on a few things, but the beauty of it is that we all came together at the end of last year, sat on a panel, and had a bunch of people talking about Spider-Man, and at that time mentioned the fact that we were going to be getting into this new series. But as you know, everything's in social media. I'm sure you'll see it even before I see it.
Which is very possibly true because social media seems to know a lot before even we do sometimes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, when it came to Spider-Man, the show, what was it like working with Roscoe Lee Brown, who played the Kingpin?
It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Roscoe has a wonderful voice. It was great to watch him work, to watch his process. And whenever I would see Roscoe outside of us recording, that was the beauty too of back then. Now I work mostly ISDN from my home, but back then we would definitely go to the studio and everybody would be there in front of several microphones working. So you would get a chance to watch a Roscoe Lee Brown. Now that still goes on somewhat in animation. Most of the other genres have changed where I'm doing everything from at home, but I do still get out for cartoons more often than other genres, but less than I used to in the past. And when I would see Roscoe outside of recording, just on the street, so we'd run into each other in restaurants and so forth. And whenever you would see Roscoe, it was an education because he was just a fantastic man. You know what I'm saying? Just a powerful man and a man with so much history because by the time he got to us, he had already done so many things with the greats, the James Earl Joneses, who I had the opportunity to work with too. He had already worked with these great people, and he brought that knowledge to us.
Well, that was very interesting. I mean, he definitely had such a booming voice, and I know I remembered his voice so distinctly because when Babe came out, he was the narrator on that, and I was like, "Wow, that's the Kingpin."
That's right. That's the Kingpin.
So, and sadly, he has passed on, but he was
Yes,
definitely one of the greats.
We will miss him.
Definitely. And with working with the different casts, what was it like working with Ed Asner? Because he's done so much in the voiceover industry.
Another lesson, another lesson. I'm always a student. I'm always learning whenever I work with anyone, and I'm learning from everybody. But it's always nice when you get an Ed Asner, a Roscoe Lee Brown, people who have withstood the test of time. And they have so many experiences from so many different avenues. Ed Asner, being a great television star, would bring that to the microphone. The things that he was doing with Mary Tyler Moore, he would bring to our studio. And it was fascinating to watch him work. And then both of these gentlemen are giving gentlemen, meaning that a lot of times somebody may come to work and be very insular or maybe to themselves, but these guys were gregarious guys who were open to all of us, to let us just suck up all of that experience and learn from them. And again, this is what I talk about in my second book, Step Up to the Mic, A Positive Approach to Succeeding in Voiceovers. Having a positive attitude in the workplace is just wonderful for everyone. It makes the process so much better.
Well, and having a positive attitude, it's contagious if you're doing it right, and everyone else can feel that impact. And then you have a great time, and then you learn from each other as well. So,
Exactly.
Well, I know through the course of your voiceover career, you were also able to play Jim Rhodes on the Invincible Iron Man, the animated movie. What was that experience like for you?
James Rhodey Rhodes was a wonderful experience because I don't know. It seems like I always get that sidekick kind of role. Robbie Robertson was a sidekick to Spider-Man, and then came James Rhodey Rhodes, a sidekick to Iron Man. I enjoyed it. I enjoy the camaraderie with the guy that I'm the sidekick to. I enjoy that in the words that we're speaking. I enjoy that in the actor that I'm working with. And together we come up with a chemistry that comes through, we hope. It comes through the speakers or whatever capacity that you're listening, and you enjoy what we're doing and you feel that connection and you feel that chemistry. So it was a great experience.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've done other works as well. Besides writing your books and being on animations, you've also been a part of video games such as the G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra game. And what kind of difference is there between recording like a video game and an animated show?
Well, there tends to be more physicality in a video game. For instance, sometimes, and I think for that particular role too, I had to do this, we get into something called motion cap, where I'm putting on this tight leotard type clothing with sensors on it and things that reflect light and sound. And I may have a weapon in my hand, and I'm rolling around on the floor, imitating and emulating being out in a war fighting. Okay. So there's a lot of physicality, and there's not only physicality on the mocap stage, but there's physicality in the studio when we're working too. There's a lot of shouting. There's shooting people. There's getting shot. There's hitting people. There's getting hit. And it takes a lot of energy. You have to be in shape, and it takes stamina, and it takes knowing how to put your voice in the right place so that you are as good at the end of the session as you were at the beginning. And that's where my third book comes into play, Rodney Saulsberry's Tongue Twisters and Vocal Warm-Ups, and other vocal care tips, where I talk about in a certain chapter about making video games and the physicality of it. And I talk about the proper place to put your voice within your body and using your diaphragm. And I talk about the proper care in terms of water and teas. And then I have other people, again, who have given contributions as to how they take care of their voice. So it's a big difference between animation and games, no doubt about it. And it's mainly in the physicality.
So when you were discussing the physicality of the video game and saying, like, when you're, shooting someone or getting hit, like, those, are you actually making any kind of contact, or it's all just pieced together for the video game aspect?
No, you're not making contact. You are doing this with your voice. And this takes a talent that's acquired through the years. The ability to fall, for instance, to fall off of a building, to run up some steps. The breathing is even different. The breathing from taking a hit to giving a hit, to running up the steps to running down. There's a lot of technical aspects. There's a lot of technique that goes into a video game, and animation too. But to tell you the difference is that, when I'm doing Robbie Robertson, or I'm doing James Rhodey Rhodes, I'm standing in a studio, and it is not as physical as when I did the part in G.I. Joe.
That's very fascinating. Thank you, Rodney.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some other kind of VO works that you've done outside of video games and animation? Have you done audiobooks and commercials and those kind of things?
Yes, I did audiobooks even before I did my own audiobooks. It's not a part of the medium that I love. I think it's very tedious. It takes a long time to read a book, and then the compensation is not what it should be, I think, for all the work that you do. So I think it's a genre that is behind in terms of paying people what they are really worth. The only books I'm narrating these days, because of how long it is and because of the low pay, are my own books. And even reading my own books is quite a job. It takes a lot to read audiobooks. Audiobooks are no joke, because you've got to read them, you have to edit them, and it's a long, tedious process. So audiobooks is certainly something that I do and have done. I do a lot of promos meaning promos for television shows, movies, things on television. I've done a lot of trailers for theatrical release. I've done trailers for television. I do a lot of narration, long form narration, a lot of things for documentaries, a lot of things for websites. Sometimes you become the imaging voice for a website. There are explainer videos. There's e-learning. There are so many different aspects of voiceover, and that's the beauty of it. There has never been a more opportune time than now to be in this game. We talked briefly about you doing this because I think you have a nice voice. And the reality is there are so many avenues out here for you and everyone that is willing to work hard. You got to work hard. And also, you have to study. You need to get a good coach, and you need to make sure that you do your due diligence and be the best that you can be, because even though there is a ton of opportunity and people are doing it from their homes and equipment is less expensive, etc., you still have to be good if you are going to consistently get work.
Well, absolutely. And speaking of getting education in the industry to be more professionally trained and understanding of what's going on, I believe you also do Skype coaching worldwide. Is that correct?
I do worldwide Skype coaching, and I do it over the telephone without it being Skype too. And I do coach in person occasionally, especially when I'm on the road, or if I happen to do a workshop here near Los Angeles. And I also have something that's really important called the Consultants Club. I hope we get a chance to talk about that, where I am coaching people from all over the world, and they are part of a club, a subscription club. They pay a monthly fee to work with me monthly.
And with that monthly subscription, how often do people have contact with you and those kind of things?
Okay, the way it works is it's $79.95 per month, and you get 30 minutes with me. I will send you scripts via email, and that's what we will be going over. I will be coaching you. The scripts could be anywhere from commercial to promo to narration to explainer videos, etc. We talk about everything is custom made for you, and we work for 30 minutes. Um, I also do an hour call that happens once a month. For instance, this month, the call is this Monday on the 25th. And this particular call will talk about how to um, make a daily plan for your voiceover career. So you're planning your voiceover career daily. And I'll talk about how people who do this full time, how they go through their course of a day. And I'll talk about people who work 8 hours on another job, and I'll give them a schedule to work on being the best voiceover artist that they can be. So each month you get a 30-minute call, you get a 1 hour group call. Everybody's on the phone for that particular call. I will either teach like I'm doing this Monday, or I'll have a special guest. And I'll speak to the guest for 30 minutes. The last 30 minutes, it's open to the rest of the Consultants Club to ask questions. And that's what you get. So for $79.95, you get a 30-minute private and a 1 hour group. Also, there are things on my website for you to constantly do, lessons and stuff on the website that you only have access to as a member. Also, you get a chance to listen to all the archived calls that have happened through the years. The Consultants Club has been around for about 3.5 years now. So you're going to get access to great calls that include great voiceover artists like Bob Bergen, you know, guys that really know about social media like Dave Cavassier. I've had some great guests throughout the years, and you get a chance to listen to those calls too when you join the Consultants Club. I always suggest that people take at least 3 months, because PayPal will be taking this money from you, $79.95 per month, and give it at least 3 months. And most of my people are with me forever. They've been with me, ever since it started. But at least give it 3 to see if you like it. If you don't like it, all you have to do is go to PayPal and cancel your membership. It's that simple. I have many people that have gone on to be very successful from being in this Consultants Club. I have created some voiceover stars, and that makes me feel really good. I feel like every time you work, when you've been under my tutelage, vicariously, I am working too. All right. So I find great success in helping others. I believe in paying it forward.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful message. And, I truly believe, like you said, Rodney, when you're teaching these people to work and go out in the world, you are working in essence, because you've taught them your life lessons and other things that are important and valuable from your guests. And so, you've put part of yourself into these people. You've invested time and effort into teaching. And so, that's amazing. That's really awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for sharing. And of course, it sounds like it's really easy if people decide they just don't want to continue doing it, for them to just cancel if that be the need. But it sounds like most people just stick around forever. So
they really do. They really do. And they tell people about it. I mean, it's just a constant thing. It's been a great success. And I find too now, since I'm being a lot more active on things like Twitter, that I'm even getting more people. So, and that really lets you know about the importance of social media. Things are real. I mean, hey, look, here we are in this presidential race, and so many things are being put out there by Twitter by both candidates.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a different world for sure, by far. As far as your program goes, so say I wanted to sign up and become a member of this club, how many people are in the group? So like when we're actually on the group call, like, am I going to actually have time in that 30 minutes to communicate with your guest, or is it a fairly small group?
Well, no, my group is large, but you will get a chance to communicate. We never have a problem.
Okay.
I've never once had a problem. And people, and I appreciate this compliment, are always complimenting me about my ability to handle that. People are very respectful, and they get in and out, and there's never been a problem. Never.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. And I'm glad that your group has done so well and continued to grow. And I know this will be a wonderful piece of information for people who listen to the show. And I myself will definitely look into it as well. It definitely sounds very interesting.
I would love to have you. Like I said, I told you earlier today, you have a great voice and you're doing a great job here today. And if you want to expand, I'd love to help you do that.
Well, I very much appreciate that, Rodney. We can definitely talk about that more in the days ahead.
All right. All right.
Well, so what kind of advice would you give to someone who's interested in pursuing a voiceover career, Rodney?
Well, what I would do, Trenton, is I would say to that person, a lot of times we'll be from afar looking at something and thinking that that is something we want to get into, just like we see other people getting into it. But the fact of the matter is, until you test the waters, you really don't know if it's right for you. And so I would say to you, if you think you like this and you think you want to do it, grab a book. Grab one of my books, grab somebody else's book. I don't care which book you grab, but read up on it and see if it's something you really want to do. And then start watching television and really paying attention to commercials. Listening to see if you hear anybody that sounds like you, and try to copy that. Okay, and then start reading the backs of cereal boxes and start reading copy in newspapers and magazines. Just test yourself. Just listen to yourself aloud. And if you have something to record yourself on, do that. Then after you do that, take a look at what's going on out there. You know, you'll be able to find me. You'll be able to find other teachers, and take a look, just like you found me, Trenton. Take a look. My website's there. Another person's website is there. See if it's somebody that you'd like to reach out to. All right. And then maybe you can reach out to that person with an email or a phone call if they have a phone number available for you, and say, hey, here I am and I want to learn more about this. Can you help me? Maybe you might find someone out there who is willing to give a free mentorship. So maybe you'll find somebody like that. But the big word in the start of anything is due diligence. You have to do your due diligence and learn about what you want to know about. All right. And let me make that make sense for you. Learn what it is that you're interested in. Okay. And now go out and make it happen. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that word. You know, we always like to get the advice of our special guests on the show because, you know, you've been there, you've done that, and the knowledge you have is invaluable. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you reaching out. And I want to urge the audience to keep an eye on social media, because I could be coming to an area near you, because I am going to be doing some traveling this year. So far, where was I? I was at the Midwest voiceover conference. I was also in Atlanta at that voiceover conference. And I'm going to be going on the road with my own workshop. So make sure you pay attention to things coming to your area. And then, of course, you can always work with me via the Consultants Club. Or let me say this, you don't have to join the Consultants Club. You could seek my coaching without being in the Consultants Club, but it costs more. And the reason why I came up with the Consultants Club is because I wanted something that would give more people an opportunity to work with me.
Well, I know people will definitely appreciate that and do appreciate that because, you know, one-on-one coaching can be very expensive, and that gives an opportunity to more people, like you said, who, you know, finances could be a little bit tighter, but it is something they're actively wanting to pursue. So
that's right.
Very admirable of you.
All right.
Rodney, as far as your favorite cartoon character, what would you say that would be?
Well, I would say my favorite would be, I really liked the freight train role that I played in The Little Engine That Could. And to go and see that, and to see that big freight train with the big eyeballs popping out of the top of it, and hear my voice was great. But my favorite would be an animated voice that I do for a product called Zatarans, the Zatarans Jazz Man.
That's you.
Yeah. It's just a lot of fun to do that guy.
Wow.
And so that would be probably the most fun. That'd be my favorite.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Is
Hmm.
is there a website or a way in which people can reach you other than Twitter if they are inquiring about the club or your private services or just, someone maybe looking to hire you for a voiceover talent?
Yes, www.Rodney Saulsberry. That's Rodney, Saulsberry, Saulsberry, RodneySaulsberry.com.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. I do have just one final question,
Hmm.
and that is, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
The legacy that I would like to leave behind is a legacy of giving back. Giving back. I am so grateful to be free. And when I say to you, I'm free, I don't have a 9 to 5 and I don't down those who do. I think that's great, okay, because we have to make a living. But I am my own boss. I am free to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I'm doing something that I love, okay? And I think that's important that we do things that we love to do. And I'm passionate about it. And I am so lucky to have made the money and had the success and living this lifestyle, doing something that I love to do. And because of that, I give back. And I give back to the community that gave so much to me, and that's the voiceover community and all the people that want to be in this community. And so that's what my books are about. That's what the Consultants Club is about. That's what Twitter's about. That's what Instagram's about. It's all about what can I do to make people like Trenton Larkin be able to enjoy this life, this wonderful life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, Rodney. Well, thank you so very much for being on the show today. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure having you. Would you please just give us a closeout today as the man from Zatarans?
Trenton Larkin, thank you so much for having me on your show. I am so proud to be on Who Did That Voice? Jazz it up with Zatarans.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, please stop on by my Contact Me page to let me know. Just go to www.whodidthatvoice.co. I'd love to hear from you. Today, I would also like to give a shout out to all of my international listeners. I can see you guys all over the world listening, and it warms my heart to know that I'm not only reaching people in the United States, but around the globe. Thank you guys so much for listening and supporting this show. As most of you guys know, we have a weekly giveaway on the show, and it's been an exciting time to partner with Ultimate Collectibles and Apparel in Tulsa, Oklahoma. These guys supported the show by donating some things to give out, so I want to say a special thank you to them, and this week's giveaway will come from these guys at Ultimate Collectibles and Apparel. Toby Mask and Daryl Herman are great guys. Tell them hey if you run into them at the store. They're at 4810 East 11th Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 74112, and tell them Trenton sent you. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us next Friday to hear Chris Anthony Lansdowne, the voice of Barbie, and the voice of Chris, the announcer, from Adventures in Odyssey. Hey, are you ready to win some awesome prizes? All you have to do is like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter for your chance to be instantly and automatically entered for your chance to win.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.